What is going on, guys? Today we are going to be finishing the center console in the 240, but before we do that, let's roll that intro. So before we jump into the video itself, I just want to do question of the day. Do you think that I should flock my dash in my 240? Just let me know. Anyways, enough of that. Let's start working on the car. So this is honestly something I've been needing to do for quite a while. I did this off camera, this piece right there, that guy. Our center console, we need to get it done because we do have plans for this whole area of the car, and while we are waiting for the ECU to come, which is coming tomorrow, because today's Wednesday, tomorrow's Thursday, it's gonna show up tomorrow. So I want to get as much done as I can before we get the ECU, because once we get the ECU, my main focus is going to be getting this motor started. So let me just show you what we've got going on in here. So this piece you will have already seen. If you haven't, definitely check the video right there. This piece, this whole section on 240s, super expensive. It's like $150 to get an OEM replacement, and I didn't want to do that because I have it set up differently. The radio is where the climate control normally goes, and then I have the switch panel there. So I had to go custom, and I was going to do sheet metal, but sheet metal is a little hard to work with, and I had some ABS plastic, so I thought, why not do some ABS plastic, make it look decent, and I honestly think it came out pretty good. And then our shifter sits forward compared to where it normally sits with the stock KA, which is interesting. I got a whole thing about that on the video where we installed the RB with the trans, and for some reason the trans sits forward more, so the mount didn't line up, the shifter's forward. Not a big deal, everything else lines up, but the shifter's forward, so we gotta work around that. I can still get into all the gears, but I need to get the shift boot on, and to do that I have to cut out a bigger hole than this. The reason I cut this out is because I thought that I could do like a gated style shifter with it, and that'd be pretty sweet. Unfortunately, the way that 240 shifters are, it gets skinny and then it gets fat. So a gated shifter isn't really possible with 240 shifters, so that's unfortunate. We'll just have to stick with the regular boot. There's nothing wrong with that. I just, thought, hey, if I could do it, it'd be pretty sweet. So now we just have to cut it so our shift boot can sit normal, and then we will work on covering this piece up. So we had a little change of plans, getting this shift boot to fit correctly in there with ABS plastic. Trying to make it perfect is such a pain that I'm just not even gonna run it. I think I'm just going to do something like this to where it covers a little bit, it's not covering everything. We could still go into all the gears. And I think it looks better than having a big asshole. I mean, we still got a pretty big hole there, but I think we'll be good. We've got the block rubber thing that blocks stuff from coming in from underneath the car, so I think we'll be fine, honestly. I think I'm just going to run there. But we will get this area blocked off for sure. So we got some progress done. I ended up super gluing it. I know, sounds weird, but I couldn't find the clips that the OEM piece would use to push into there, so super glued it, and we'll see if it stays or not. So trying to do this section just frustrated me so much that I don't even care anymore. It's just one of those things. I care about most of the things on this car, but that section, I honestly don't care at this point. Like, I just don't. Let's just move on, move away from it. And for the ashtray piece, I've got it sitting right here. When I took it off, I accidentally cracked it there. So it's been sitting for maybe 45 minutes. I put super glue on it again. Like, it's weird, I know, but I think that'll do. And then it'll just be sitting there. It's not going to be like bolted down or anything. It'll just be sitting in there because in case I need to access the start button, that's my only way of doing it without taking everything off. So It'll just be sitting there. It should be fine. I don't see it moving. And if it does end up moving, then we'll figure something out, but I think it'll be good there. So besides messing with the center console, I went and wire harness taped the starter wires. This is the main wire that's the constant 12 volt to the starter, and this is the starter signal coming from the push button. And also our alternator wires. We got our main wire that goes to the battery from the alternator. We've got our ground here and our plug. So I just want to clean those up, make those look decent, and now we can route them in the engine bay and we can mount it to the motor. So now we've got our alternator right there. He's all plugged in, and we've got our power and ground on it, so we are all good there. Same thing with the starter. We've got our main power on the left, and then on the right there's a little pin for the signal plug to go onto. And that's it. Then it gets grounded from the motor, which brings me to another thing we gotta do is I don't have the motor grounded to the chassis yet, so we'll do that real quick, and then we're gonna see if the battery will even crank the starter, because the battery's kind of dead. Okay, so we've got the starter and the alternator hooked up, and that's all great. I just hooked the battery up, and little disclaimer, there's no oil in the motor, so I'm gonna crank the starter, but just for like a second, like to where it's not even really moving the motor. I just want to make sure that it's good. And it might not do anything because the battery is pretty dead, so I guess we'll just find out. It also helped me test the start button out. Oh, it made a noise. That's good. Like I said, no oil in the motor, not even going to risk cranking it just to be safe. That's great news though. We got our starter hooked up and our starter works. I was worried that because there's no actual ground on the starter, it's grounded through the motor, that maybe it wasn't going to work properly, but we're all good there. And I know that the starter is good because they compression tested it when I got the motor, and they used the starter to do that. So that's great. I'm really fucking happy that the starter works, everything works. Now, tomorrow when the ECU shows up, we can get that in, mount it, get it wired in. I'm thinking of having it back in there, but I might change my mind just to put it in a place where I have more access. Like I might have it right in there behind the switch panel, because the switch panel doesn't take up a whole lot of room, but we'll see how things go. But once we get that, then we can figure out how we're going to get everything ready for the first startup. Alright guys, I'm gonna end it here. We got a good amount of things done today. We made a big step with the starter and the alternator, got that going, grounded the motor out, so we should be good there. Now when the ECU shows up, then we can start getting other things, like I still gotta get oil, spark plugs, coolant, some more gear oil for the trans. There's still more to do, and we gotta do an exhaust too, that's another thing. But that's for another video. I'm gonna end it here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like if you did, comment down below your answer to the question of the day, and then hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
No,